Hey, I'm Olivia, aka Biblioghoul, and today I wanted to talk about 7 horror graphic novels that I've read recently. I've actually been in a reading slump, and before my reading slump, I was participating in Shorty September and read all these great short graphic novels, so I thought I'd take a moment to talk about those. And I think it's funny how months that I'm most excited for end up being slow reading months for me, because in October I always want to read so many horror things, but then I also want to do so many fall things and spend time with people and really savor like the Halloween and fall spirit, so then I end up reading less. But anyways, I'm gonna start with the ones that I liked the least to the ones that were my favorite, although all of them I enjoyed. So first I'm gonna talk about A Gift for a Ghost, which has 2 competing storylines, and I think I enjoyed both of these storylines, but overall I was confused at how they converged a little bit, so maybe I would enjoy this more after a second or third read, but I really did like the characters from this. I will put some images on the screen as I'm talking so you can get a sense for the style of the art, because I feel like that's half of what draws me, at least, to graphic novels. Just have this beautiful blue-green kind of color scheme. The 2 storylines we're following are of young women that are rejecting standards for women in both societies. We have a woman in 1856 that doesn't want to be married and wants to write poetry, and then 3 girls that are starting a punk band in the present moment. So while I liked this rebellion, it ended up being my least favorite out of the novels I read. The next one is kind of silly, but when I saw somebody talking about it, because I was watching all these videos about the best horror graphic novels, I knew that I wanted to pick it up just for like a lighthearted thing to read. It is called Death Wins a Goldfish. The style of the art is kind of sketchy and basic. It is about Death never having used any of his vacation days, and then HR comes into the picture and forces him to use all of them one after the other, and so he kind of has this bucket list of things that he's doing, and it's just, pretty funny to see Death in a photo booth or lounging on a raft in the pool. So I don't know that I could relate to this, because I would like nothing more than to never work another day in my life, and I'm not one of those people that overworks myself. But I had a nice time reading this and just little giggles at Death trying to live, and I think it's a good option if you want something to feel like you're reading in line with fall and Halloween, but you don't want to be scared at all. The next one is Infidel, and I just love this cover. It was the main reason I wanted to pick it up, and also the description. It's described as a horror tale for the 21st century. Infidel follows an American Muslim woman and her multiracial neighbors who move into a building haunted by entities fueled by xenophobia. So if you're like me and you like horror that has commentary on racism, this is a great one to pick up. The art style in this is really realistic and really scary, actually. I would say maybe if you know the scary stories to tell in the dark style, but picture that, but more realistic. It kind of had that vibe for me. And yeah, this is one where you kind of know the plot and it's straightforward, but you have a really tenacious main character that you're rooting for the whole time and hoping that she can escape this evil. And there's some interesting perspectives too of the different people in the apartment building and their thoughts about race, so I really enjoyed that one. So the next one I read is After the Rain by Nnedi Okorafor. I have read some of her other books before, and I guess this started out as a short story and then became a graphic novel as well, so I thought that was interesting because it is really beautiful. This is probably the most vibrant and colorful book out of all of the ones I've talked about so far. And it has a lot of really cool, unique cultural imagery and imagery of spirits and gods, which I really loved. The character is Nigerian American and visiting Nigeria and her grandmother, and I think it's her great aunt, and she opens the door to find this like half dead looking child, and then learns that that's like not a good omen and starts freaking out and starts like seeing things everywhere, and it just like escalates into this really mystical, surreal, fantastical kind of mood. I enjoyed it without having a deep knowledge of Nigerian culture and deities, but I think that if you do have that knowledge, that this would be even better, and obviously you'd get more from it. But yes, I really enjoyed the unique nature of this book in terms of all the other books I read, the mystical elements, the characters of the grandmother and great aunt. I think this one had some of my favorite characters out of the ones that I've read, and I would really recommend picking it up. So my second favorite that I read is Harrow County, and I picked this up because of this eerie and wonderful cover. I knew I had to read it. It starts out with a witch being hung by a tree, and then moves to the modern day where this girl is turning 18 years old, and like weird things have been happening, and then she learns what her turning 18 can mean, and it's very much like a coming into your power teenage story. She is living on a farm, so it has those very rural but also wonderful forest vibes. There's a lot of beautiful yellow and red tones to this. There's a spooky old tree and disembodied skin sidekick that gives you like a flavor for this. So it's very witchy, and you're trying to see who the main character can really trust. But this apparently is a whole series, and this is only the first collection. So I'd be curious to hear if you've read more of this and if you enjoyed it, but I really, really do want to read more regardless, because you know, she was just at the beginning of her journey, and I can't wait to see what happens next. And also really cool characters in this one as well. So my favorite one that I read for this was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll, and this is a bunch of different stories with all kinds of different vibes. Some have that Victorian Gothic vibe to them, people disappearing in big haunted houses and things like that. There are also stories with people trying to suss out if there are people close to them that are monsters. There's murder, girlhood, friendships, creepy woods, and the ghosts of past wives. I would say this is one of my favorite illustration styles out of all the ones that I've read. I think I've also read another novel by Emily Carroll where I just had to pick it up because of the illustration style. It's just so gorgeous, especially the use of the color red. I think she does really well. But yeah, so all of these were really fabulous and I would recommend them, but those last few were some of my favorites. I'd love to hear if you've read any of these and what your thoughts were, or if you have any favorite horror comics or just comics in general, because I have been trying to pick up more, or if you've read anything recently that you'd recommend more generally. But yeah, hope you're having a nice October, and thanks for watching.